Welcome to Using Your Teacher Voice, episode 13. Today I'd like to talk to the parents and parents who have bought their children devices for Christmas, or maybe their children saved up all their Christmas money, they want to buy a device. That could be a cell phone, an iPod, a tablet of some sort, maybe a netbook or laptop. Um, Today, looking at protecting the device, um, is the starting point for digital citizenship. How to treat the devices right, how to protect the devices is a starting point. And then that gets us into how to use it appropriately, and then start reinforcing those ideas of digital citizenship. Not everything that deals with citizenship has to deal with what you do online. That is obviously a big part, and that's what most people think of. But that's just that's a major component. But that's the end. The start really is how you protect the device and handle the device. So looking at how to protect the device physically itself, I think one thing that a parent should be thinking about is putting some sort of tracker or locator app on it, some sort of tracing device. I think you need to be able to find the device. Now, the older the child, maybe the less necessary this becomes, in the case of it being lost, but then you get more people who try to steal it. Younger children aren't necessarily going to steal someone else's iPod or tablet. I mean, they will, but the instances get less there. But then the younger children have a tendency to leave them places. Leave them here, leave them there, forget where they've left it. So having that ability to track down a device if it's lost or stolen is very beneficial. Um, I think also too, especially for younger children, if we reinforce that idea of always keep this with you, always keep this with you, always keep this with you. God forbid, the worst thing happen and, something happens to the child, that tracking ability may be a starting point to try to find your child. And we hate to think about that, but that is a possibility. Different devices have different methods of doing this. Different providers have different apps and services, so you just have to do a little investigation. Along those same lines, I think also it's important for parents to have some sort of way to monitor their child's use of that device. That could start with how many minutes they're using or how much data they're using. Maybe it's when they're using it, and how they're using it. What apps are installed on that? What are those apps capable of doing? Why does that child want that particular app? And then, there is a fine line between stalking your child and monitoring your child. But it may be, that you need to be at least have the capability, even if you never use it, you have the capability of, monitoring what they are doing online. Be that a copy of their emails or accessing their text messages and pictures that they send, or who they're sending it to, their contact list, things like that. Again, different devices have different ways of doing this. Different providers have different ways of doing this, so you'd have to do a little bit of research there as well. I don't advocate that are making a habit of scrolling through your child's stuff to see what they're doing and with whom they're doing it. Because, I do believe that, a major part of digital citizenship is teaching responsibility. But at the same time, you need to have that ability. As a parent, it's really your job to make sure that you can protect not only your own child from other people, but other people from your child. That you aren't allowing things to happen that are hurting other people. Um, I think when it comes to access, it's very important for you, the parent, to have the passwords. I think you, the parent, need to have the ability to get on and modify that device. Obviously, the younger the child, there's different, reasons for this. Maybe it's a financial reason. A buddy of mine, his young son had the ability just to click and download and whatever, and next thing you know, he has a $300 bill that he downloaded all these things in-app purchases. Obviously, older children, it becomes a little different perspective. Maybe you just need that password so you can get on and change things or whatever. But you need to have the ability to get on and to and to do what you need to do on that device as a parent um, without having to go through the child first. I have 4 children. My 19-year-old, he's out now and kind of on his own, but up until up through high school, I had the ability to get onto his cell phone. I could check his messages. I could get on and see what he did. I never did it, but I could, and he knew that. My 8-year-old has a iPad Mini, and I do have the password to that, and I have to, anytime she wants to download an app or a game or something like that, I have to do it. I have that password. She has the password to get on, but I have the iTunes password, and so she's kind of limited there. And she doesn't know the Wi-Fi password, so if I disable that, or if I need to, I can go on and change her password because I know it as well. And so there's a problem with the iPad, with her usage, I can lock her out. My twins, they're 4.5. They both have Kindles, and what's really nice with the Kindle is that there's an app called Free Time, and this comes with your Prime subscription. And what that does is it allows you to control access to the device. So it won't, for instance, I can set a start time and an end time. It will turn on. It will not turn on before such and such a time, or my children cannot access it after a particular time. There's preloaded content or pre-approved content, age appropriate, that they can access without me having to, password or put in a password of some form. Really helpful, really handy. It's a great tool, especially for younger children like that. Highly recommend. You can control how long they are on their device. On the Kindle, for instance, I can say they can read unlimitedly, but can only play games for 2 hours a day, for instance. And so, there's a lot of functionality and a lot of control in that. Unfortunately, I think that there's a growing bit of case law out there that is starting to shift the responsibility partially onto the parents. Now, this isn't becoming the standard yet, but there are people starting to hold the parent accountable for what the child does with a device that the parent provided and maintains. For instance, there was a case in which a child was being bullied every night online, and it seemed to always happen between 5 and 9. Well, that was when, what was going on? Well, that's when the kid was at home, and he was on a device that his parents had bought him, and using a network that the parents were maintaining and upkeep, paying for. And so the bullied kid's parents made a case that that this other kid's parents, the bully's parents, were partially responsible because they were allowing this child access to things that were harming their child. So, like I said, it hasn't become the standard yet, but it's out there, and I think more and more people are going to start using it. As a start on digital citizenship, I think, modeling as a parent how to use the device, when to use the device, what are the rights and wrong ways of doing this and the right and wrong times to be doing this. I think that starts with this here. Parents can model that behavior. For instance, parents can say this is a no device time, dinner, no devices. Or if it's an activity where devices are, it's okay to multitask, model for the student how to do that. That if you hear the notification ding, you look down, you kind of take a look at the preview of it, and then you go on with whatever activity you're doing. It's not stop, drop, and deal with the phone and then go back to whatever activity until it dings again. It's about prioritizing, and I see this a lot in my students, that they, want to have that phone out. They want to be able to listen to their music or something while they're working on homework or assignments, and that's totally fine with me. But they don't understand that that notification should be second to what they're doing right then. And I think a lot of teachers, that's why so many teachers just get so angry and frustrated with the devices and the phones in the classroom, and they always want to control that because they want to be first, and unfortunately not all students see their homework assignment as first. It's much more what's going on with my friends. I have to deal with this first, then I'll deal with whatever else I was doing in class. You talk about appropriate use of device. There's a lot of things that parents kind of can model that would be really beneficial when it comes to this. And I'm thinking in particular of a time, when adults get together, maybe their kids are around, they see this. When one adult says, "Oh, did you see what so and so posted on Facebook today? Did you see what so and so did online? Or did you see this?" And then everybody pulls out whatever, their phones or tablets and starts looking that thing up. Um, you know, in the eye, and there's giggling or kind of snickering, or if maybe there's like some comments being made. Granted, maybe you're not trying to make fun of that person, but the child sees that as a, I found something online that I can comment on, criticize on, whatever, in the real world. And that's the start of bullying, and that's where cyberbullying sometimes starts, where you see that movement from the online digital world to the real world. I look forward to hearing your comments and seeing what you think, what things you have done to protect your devices, and why you think it might be so important to be doing those things. Look forward to seeing your comments and adding on to this conversation.